Today, we're going to talk about worship, but probably not in the way you're used to thinking about it, because this isn't a story about an activity, it's a story about a relationship, and we're going to trace it from the very beginning all the way to its eternal destination.
So, let me ask you, when you hear that word worship, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, right, it's a specific time, a place, maybe a certain action. But today we're going to pull the camera back and look at this through a much, much wider lens.
You know, it's so easy to boil worship down to just the songs we sing or the rituals we go through. But the story we see in the Bible is about something so much deeper, something that was there long before the first song was ever written or the first ritual was ever performed.
See, at its absolute core, worship isn't about what we do. It's about who we're with. It is the story of God's relationship with humanity.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to go all the way back. I'm talking back to the very beginning, to the blueprint for creation itself. We're going to the Garden of Eden, where we can see worship in its purest, most original form.
And this verse, wow, it shows us something absolutely incredible. This wasn't some special occasion, a once-a-year event. This was just normal. It was a regular thing. It was just fellowship. Direct, totally unhindered communion with God. That was worship.
I mean, just think about that for a second. In Eden, there were no temples, no altars, no fancy systems for worship. Why? Because there was no need for them. Worship was just living in God's presence, walking with Him, and this joyful obedience that flowed from that relationship. It wasn't something you did, it was who you were.
But then, everything changed. That perfect, seamless relationship, it was shattered. Sin entered the picture, and it created a fracture so deep, so profound, that it completely changed the rules of engagement. It changed everything about how humanity could even approach God.
And the change wasn't gradual. It was immediate. It was total. Suddenly, that open fellowship was gone, replaced by fear. Intimacy was replaced by hiding. Adam and Eve, who used to just walk with God, were now hiding from Him. And let's be clear, this wasn't just them being scared. It was something deeper. It was this instinctual, gut-level recognition of their own unholiness in the face of absolute perfect holiness. It's like that fearful respect a child has for a father they've deeply disappointed, that awful feeling when a perfect relationship is suddenly fractured by shame. Suddenly, the holiness of God and the sinfulness of humanity, they just couldn't exist in the same space anymore. That free, open-door policy of the garden? Gone. A massive chasm had just opened up between them.
And from that moment on, a whole new principle was put in place. If you wanted to bridge that gap, if you wanted to get anywhere near a holy God, something had to be done about the sin. Atonement became necessary. A price had to be paid just to get back even a little bit of that fellowship.
Now, this whole system of sacrifices and rituals, it was always meant to be a temporary fix. It was a bridge, yeah, but it was a bridge that was pointing to the real solution. Because, thankfully, the story doesn't end with separation. It's all moving towards restoration, and that restoration comes through one person, Jesus Christ.
You see, Jesus is the one who finally checks every single box that sin required. He is both the one making the offering, the final high priest, and He is the offering, the final sacrifice. In one single act, He accomplished what millions of rituals over thousands of years never, ever could.
And this is so important, the why behind it all. It wasn't just about getting a bunch of broken rules forgiven. No, the ultimate goal was always relational. It was, as the verse says, that He might bring us to God. The whole point was to close that gap, to restore that walking in the garden kind of fellowship that was lost.
So what does that mean for us today? It means our worship now lives in this incredible, beautiful tension. On the one hand, because of what Christ did, we can come to God with the confidence and the closeness of a child running to their father. But at the same time, we never forget that this Father is also a holy, all-powerful, consuming fire. Real worship, true worship, holds both of those things together. That deep, reverent awe and that intimate, personal relationship.
Okay, so this brings us to the final chapter, the big question. What does this fully restored, totally perfected relationship look like in eternity?
I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes we get this picture of eternity as just one really, really long church service, right? And that image of saints and angels constantly bowing down, it can feel a little, boring. But here's the thing, that is only one part of a much bigger picture.
The Bible actually gives us two amazing visions of what eternity is like.
Yes, absolutely. There's what we could call throne worship, that constant, joyful praise of God simply for who He is. But there's also the vision of the New Jerusalem. And this is a picture of a vibrant, active city, where God's people are living, serving, and even reigning with real purpose. See, eternity isn't just passive praise, it's active, meaningful participation in God's brand new creation.
And this is where the whole story comes full circle. Remember how we started? With Adam in the garden, his job tending and keeping the garden, that was his worship? Well, in the New Jerusalem, our work is finally redeemed. It's freed from the curse of the fall, and it's restored to what it was always meant to be, a joyful, creative act of service, an act of worship.
So when you look at it this way, the entire story of the Bible is the story of worship. It starts with a perfect, direct relationship, it gets broken by sin, it's restored through the cross, and it's finally made perfect in an eternity of both amazing praise and purposeful service.
So let's go back to our original question. What is worship? Well, it's relational because Christ brought us close to the Father. It's reverent because that Father is absolutely holy. And it's eternal because His worthiness and His love literally never end.
In the end, Jesus Himself gave us the definition of eternal life. And listen to how He puts it. It's completely relational. It's not about a destination. It's about a person. It's simply about knowing God.
To know God. That's it. That is worship, that is relationship, and that is eternity. The invitation to worship, then, isn't an invitation to do an activity. It's an invitation to know God. And that's not just a piece of eternal life, it is eternal life. It's the beginning, the middle, and the incredible, unending story that we're all invited to be a part of.